Now that Secret Invasion is over, it's time to talk about the impact it has on the MCU and what it means for the projects going forward. Especially because we know that all the freaking MCU projects over the last few years have all been pretty much set up movies or TV shows for other projects, which part of me is really annoyed by, but also, at least it expands the universe, even if it's not always the best, I guess. But honestly, we'll see where it goes. There's been a lot of hate on this show since it came out. I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews where people are like, I loved it or I hated it. I'm kind of in the middle of the ground where it's like, it could have been way better than it was, but it also wasn't terrible. However, it did set up cool stuff for the MCU that we're going to be talking about in this video. Some of the bigger questions I had when the series started was, how does General Ross become president? Because in this, they showed that Ritson was president. But by the end of the series, we do realize that Ritson was a terrible person because he declared all-out war on the Skrulls and told them to get off his planet, inspiring a bunch of vigilantes to go and just start shooting innocent people because they're suspected Skrulls. Which we do get Fury saying that this is what a one-term president does, which sets up the stage for General Ross to be president during Captain America 4, New World Order. Another big thing was, how does Fury go back to the Sword Space Station for the Marvels after this? Well, at the end of the series, he just gets back on his ship and flies back to the station with Vara to go negotiate peace between the Skrulls and the Kree so the Skrulls can go back to their homeworld planet. And it's looking like at least something along those lines will be happening during the Marvels movie, because we have Ben and the other Kree going after the Marvels, and Captain Marvel in the trailer says they're going after our home planet where we care about people. So I'm assuming that's going to be Skrulls and Earth, because those are only two planets that would make sense as of right now anyways. Another big question was Gaia gonna end up being the Abigail Brand of the MCU? But that was not the case. That did not happen at all. Even though I thought that would have been a cool way to use her character, instead she was just made into a super OP super Skrull with everyone's powers for whatever reason. Definitely should have only been a few powers, but we'll see what they do with her character going forward, because now she seems way too OP for that to happen. But she's going off with Sonya, I'm assuming to help with MI6, but people did point out that she could be part of a team called Excalibur from the Marvel Comics. You may be wondering, who the hell is Excalibur? Well, they're just another superhero-based team for the government. This time they fight for the UK people and their interests around the world. Usually Captain Britain is among their ranks, which I do think is going to be setting up his character coming in, or her, depending on which version of the character they want to present. And the team is usually British heroes and former X-Men, so we could be getting more X-Men in the future on this team. And the team usually deals with interdimensional adventures and magical crises normally linked to other worlds. And she's mostly going to be helping MI6 help her people and help the planet against threats. Again, she's way too OP, so I don't know how this is going to work, because the thing they've set up in the MCU with all these projects is that they introduce these characters and we never know when we're going to see them again, like Kit Harington's Black Knight, Moon Knight, Shang-Chi. These have now come out the last couple years, and we're probably not going to see them for a couple more. So there's just big time gaps between these characters, which honestly sucks. Now, I was wondering about what was going to happen to the Skrulls after this series, especially when we're dealing with Secret Invasion, if they're going to live on Earth amongst society, but we find out then they were not going to be accepted whatsoever, and they're going to be hunted down and killed. So they have to get off Earth to find somewhere they're actually going to feel like home, especially because these vigilantes are killing Skrulls that are on their side, as well as innocent people who finally came back after being Skrulls for so long. And like I said, prior to this, guy is now just super OP. But hopefully they'll be going home after the Marvels with Nick Fury and Vara doing peace negotiations with the Kree. Now, as we move forward with the projects and what we could see going into the next movies, there's only a few that come to mind. The first one obviously is the Marvels, because they're going to be dealing with the Kree and Ben. And the way the Marvels trailer set it up, it looks like Carol's off in space, Nick Fury calls her, and I'm assuming that's what's going to be setting up where her character is going to go, because she's probably off in Kree space trying to help with the peace negotiations so the Skrulls can finally go back home. And then that's when the movie's going to start happening with Kamala, Monica, and Carol all swapping places while using their powers. So the big thing about this movie is probably going to be the Marvels trying to take down Ben, but at the same time having the Krees go home, because Nick Fury does look like he's playing at least some part in this movie, helping them do something, because you see him in action using guns and stuff. And at least that's what's going to be happening during the space-based stuff. Now, when we get to the actual stuff on Earth, series is probably going to tie into both Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts because of the Skrulls. Like, Val is probably going to use the mistrust amongst everyone, assuming people are Skrulls, to push her own team, and saying, oh, look at these people, they're vetted, they're not Skrulls, and they're my people. Especially after Rhodey was seen to be a Skrull, they're probably not going to be trusting the Avengers anymore, which is going to be the perfect reason for Val to have her own team that is super. And in Captain America 4, it's rumored that the world's governments are going to be going after the Celestial sticking out of the earth because there's adamantium in there. And if that ends up being true, it's probably the government's going to get that material because they're so terrified of Skrulls and how aliens have been among them and aliens have attacked them because of Thanos that they want to get this new strong metal to defend themselves. So in general, for Captain America and Thunderbolts, it's probably going to be a lot of mistrust with the government and everyone else because they don't know who they can trust, who's a Skrull and who's not. And I'm hoping that the idea of Skrulls infiltrating these governments and other organizations doesn't just get left at the end of Secret Invasion, and we do hear about it throughout other projects, because I feel like it's something that should be referenced throughout the time, just so that we can understand what's going on. Because I feel like what they've done with MCU a lot of times is they introduce things and then we don't reference it ever. Look at Eternals. It happened 2 years ago, and there's been like 0 references in any of the MCU projects. They've referenced it in She-Hulk in literally a newspaper, and that's about it, which is probably one of the biggest annoyances I have. Also, Spider-Man No Way Home. They've referenced it here and there within some projects, not a lot. They referenced it in Doctor Strange because they kind of had to. No one really referenced the idea of the Statue of Liberty having the shield fall down because of that big event. But we'll see going forward if these shows eventually start being more connected like they once were, rather than just being set up stuff for the next movie. Even though they have a lot of projects happening, they don't feel as connected as they should. And even then, when they do feel connected, some of the projects are poor quality because they're just pushing them out rather than developing the story like they should. And I think a lot of us can agree that the 6-episode format needs to go. If we're going to do a TV show, do a proper length TV show that feels like a TV show. Don't make it like a 3-hour-long movie that could have just been a movie. Because Secret Invasion honestly could have just been a movie. It also should have been a way bigger event that was set up for a phase. And I think that's a great idea where at the beginning of the phase, we slowly learn that people have been Skrulls. Like imagine if during Endgame, the next phase was Secret Invasion. So after Endgame, people got swapped out for Skrulls during that final battle. And then over the course of the phase, the shows and the movies all tied into it. So each one would reveal that someone was a Skrull, someone wasn't a Skrull, and have these big secrets being unraveled throughout all these projects. And then by the end of it, we get a big Secret Invasion level Avengers movie where the Avengers fight the Skrulls. I think that would have been a lot better than what they did here. Now, another project that Secret Invasion affects is Armor Wars, because of everything going on with Rhodey and how he's been a Skrull for who knows how long. Now there's been a lot of speculation, and it's yet to be confirmed, that Rhodey has been a Skrull since Civil War. I believe this to be true mostly because they kind of set it up that he's in a hospital gown, and it's really indicating that he was. The people have also stated that Gravik did not start his plan until after Endgame, but I don't think that's 100% true, mostly because he was kind of pissed off prior. They weren't getting the support they needed. And on top of it, Fury did say that he got most of the DNA from the Battle of Endgame as well. How would he get the Frost Beast? How would he get Ghost and Abomination, who weren't there in Endgame? So it would make sense that he's been collecting the DNA, and the Skrulls have been collecting people a lot longer than they originally said. Now, if Rhodey has been a Skrull since Civil War, that means it's setting up a really big plot for Armor Wars, where Rhodey has to relive his friend's death, everything that happened since Civil War, the Avengers breaking up, Thanos snapping everyone away, it being further into the future than he remembers, and just a lot of general trauma to be dealt with that, and also having to deal with Tony's armory getting in the hands of Justin Hammer and other characters like that. And if it's Rhodey from Endgame, probably just going to be him dealing with mistrust with everyone else, not thinking he's actually Rhodey, even though the Skrull impersonating him got killed, and probably just diving deep into him trying to deal with the fact that he was replaced for who knows how long, and his reputation is probably ruined. I think if we're going in one direction, it would make more sense to do the Civil War storyline, mostly because that would add a way bigger story point to follow up on and have a lot more going on with his character. I feel like if it was from Endgame, it wouldn't be really that impactful because not a lot has happened with his character since Endgame other than appearing in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I saw this on Twitter that someone was saying it could possibly be dealing with Daredevil, mostly because of the fact that they talked about inspiring vigilantes and that went around the world, and also saying that because of the mistrust with everyone around them, that's how Fisk was able to rise to power and become mayor of New York City. And he uses that mistrust and disbelief to rise to the top again. Also, vigilantes being inspired could be a poke at the Punisher going around hunting people, but I don't know how that would really bring in the hero vigilantes with Skrulls being around, but we'll see as we get to that series, because at least Daredevil will be the one series that's going to be like 24 episodes, and hopefully we'll be done right. And lastly, to wrap everything up, there was one thing I saw someone post on Twitter that I thought was 100% should have happened, is that Gaia should have died fighting Gravik. And this is why. It would have been a great sacrifice for her character, saving her people, really added more stakes to the game than there really was. But it then ended up being revealed in this massive twist that the person that her face was resembling was none other than Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman. Because in the comics, Jessica Drew was taken over for a long time as a Skrull, where she had been replaced by the Skrull Empress and had been infiltrated for so many different events that it had a way bigger impact on the characters and on her as a character because she was gone for so long. So it would have been a cool way to bring in Spider-Woman into the MCU, because it would have brought in Jessica Drew, this super secret spy who's been away for so long because she was replaced with the Skrull. Also a great way to keep Emilia Clarke in, because a lot of people thought she was going to be secretly playing one big character like Abigail Brand or Spider-Woman, making her someone else rather than just a Skrull. But with that, you might be wondering, why would Marvel be able to make something with Spider-Woman? And that's only because Sony and Marvel share the rights for her. She wasn't one of the characters that was included in the deal when they gave them Spider-Man. So it would have been a way to bring her in and also have a Spider-related character that was just Marvel. However, we'll see when that character eventually does show up, and I do agree that this would have been a way cooler way to bring her in though. But let me know, what other projects do you think Secret Invasion is going to affect? Do you think they should have made Gaia Spider-Woman instead? And are there any other things you would have liked to seen from the series go forward in the MCU? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you let me know in the comments. Hit the like and subscribe button to stay up to date with my Marvel, anime, and DC videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.